Hi everyone, and welcome to Procast Lucia's channel. So I have a question for you all. Have you ever felt like you were just carrying something that was never truly yours to carry? And not because anyone asked you to, but because at some point you started believing that it was your responsibility, even if that meant hurting yourself. And this doesn't just come from nowhere. It's typically learned early on in life without someone having to sit you down and explain it. But I wanted to share a little story with you all before getting deeper into that because it'll tie it all together. So, when I was younger, I did not have shoes for school. I was starting fourth grade and all I had was these flats with holes in them, really dingy and rundown. I had them for over like a year and a half. They were just, I could not wear them. So I had to think fast. And at the time, me and my mom, we wore the same shoe size. And so I started digging through all the shoes, trying to find the most acceptable shoe. And she was really into these big shoes. Lord knows why. But I found these Steve Madden shoes. They were really clunky platforms, but I didn't have anything, so I had to wear them. And when I went to school, I tried not to think too much about it, tried not to draw attention to myself, but at lunch time, because it was a small school, we all ate lunch together. All the grades were there together. So in the cafeteria, people were pointing at me. They were calling me names. They were making fun of me and just talking about the shoes. And I remember just sitting at that lunch table, putting my head down and crying through the whole lunch. And the part that stayed with me the most wasn't that people laughed at me. It was that me and my brother, we went to the same school. And I was so worried about what people would say to him because of me. I was carrying fear that he would be embarrassed, that he would be teased, or that I created this burden for him. And now that I'm older, I realize that this wasn't just empathy. It was me taking responsibility for someone else's emotional experience before they had one. And in psychology, there is a similar response called the fawn response, where someone, instead of shutting down, instead of leaving, instead of fighting, they learn to keep peace by keeping everyone else okay. And so in that, you're the one that adjusts, you anticipate, and you carry, not because you want to, but because at some point that's what felt safe. And when I think about this now, I realized that this is not something that just happened this time. Like, I've done this plenty of times before, probably more times than I like to admit, but when you grow up feeling responsible for the feelings of someone else, or if you're in a relationship and you feel responsible for the feelings of that other person, it's not isolated to that situation. You typically carry it. You carry it into adulthood. You carry it into other relationships. You carry it into the way that you show up for people. And for instance, maybe you may end up staying longer than you should because someone said they're sad, or they're lost, or they just don't know what they'll do without you. So you end up staying. You end up feeling like it's your job to fix it, or it's your job to hold it, or it's your job to make it better. And over time, this can turn into something deeper, a pattern where you automatically start putting yourself second without even thinking about it. And in psychology, there's a pattern called self-sacrifice pattern that describes this. And that's where your needs slowly become less important than everyone else's. So you keep giving, you keep pouring, you keep sacrificing, not because the relationship is healthy, but because you feel guilty about leaving. You feel guilty for choosing yourself. And so over time, their feelings become your prison. And you stop asking, what do I need? And start asking, how do I keep them from being hurt? How do I keep them from being upset? Or how do I make their experience easier, you know? And so the truth is you are not responsible for saving everyone else at the expense of yourself. You are not responsible for carrying emotions that do not belong to you. And just because someone is sad, disappointed, or angry about a decision you made does not automatically mean you made the wrong one. No, because sometimes people are upset not because you hurt them, not because you did anything, but because you stopped abandoning yourself to make them comfortable. And that's a whole different thing entirely, because you can love people without losing yourself. You can care for people without carrying them. Protecting your peace is not selfish. And other people's feelings cannot become the bars of the cage that you live inside of. Again, other people's feelings cannot become the bars of the cage that you live inside of. So if you've ever felt like you've been carrying someone else's emotions, ask yourself this: what would happen if you put some of that weight down? Because maybe you were never meant to carry it all in the first place. Maybe once you stop carrying what was never yours to hold, you can create a space for something else. For clarity about what belongs to you and what does not, and stability. Because once you are no longer living for the emotions of others, you have room to stand firmly in your own. And that, in this instance, is where healing begins. That is where peace begins for some of us. And so this is just what I wanted to discuss with you all today. And I hope that you all enjoyed. But like always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave a comment in the comment section. Me or a member of my team will get back to you. And until next time, guys, bye.